Going on, everybody? Good evening. Welcome back to the Six Rings Canes show. Jazz Santana here, joined by Paul Austria and Dan Gillette. Our special guest, Alex Dono, and hopefully Larry Bluestein gets on with us in just a short while. He is in Tampa covering some high school football up there as well, so he'll be on shortly with us. We also got Alex Dono coming in at about 7:30, so we'll get things started here. Before we start off, though, big mention to Five Reasons Sports Network, the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel, as we are on it live right now. And also, of course, to everybody in the Five Reasons Sports, our producer, Manny Chang, as well. You can also check this out on Five Reasons Canes. Should be posted on the Five Reasons Canes podcast. And, of course, on the YouTube network. Shout out to Brad, Tejeda, Max, Kesselhot, Flo, all the guys over there, John, everybody over there, Steve-O. Check us out there as well. Biggest recruiting weekend for the Miami Hurricanes, right? All year. This is the biggest weekend of the year for Miami Hurricanes football from a recruiting perspective. Paradise Camp is back, baby. We missed it last year. So, I mean, listen, we're excited for it to be back. I'm going to run off some of the people on the list, right, in just a moment. But, we're getting word that Shamar Stewart is apparently going to be back on campus, which is huge news. What's going on to everybody in the chat? Brad, John, Judge, Juno, all you guys. Hey, there he is.
Hey, Larry.
Yes, we got him. We got him.
How you doing?
This is the legend, baby.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on. Now, Larry Bluestein joining us here on the Six Rings Cane Show. Thank you, Blue, for joining us. I was just mentioning now that you're up in Tampa covering some high school football. What's going on? What's going on up there before we get it going?
7-on-7, kind of waterlogged today. This is my third trip to USF. I've been to FSU, Florida, FIU, UCF, and USF, and then Miami twice, and hopefully on Saturday night it'll be 3 times. So I got a chance to see a lot of kids and a lot of 7-on-7 events and a lot of camps. And crazy thing is, I'm going to vent a little bit on Miami because of the fact that they have not let any parents or fans in. They make them go all the way up into the parking garage and watch. And if they're inside, they can't see anything. And they're the only college in the state. I can't say in the country. The only college I've been to. At USF, the parents line the fields with their tents and. Yeah, it's only right. You can't. That's my gripe, and I felt bad for the parents when I went down to the University of Miami both times. One for a 7-on-7 and one for the a camp. And some of those parents are bringing those kids from a long way away. From upstate, and they don't want to sit in a darn car for 2.5 hours. It's not right. But that's the only school that I went to that wouldn't let the parents in there. I mean, FAU let the parents in there, but they only let 100 kids per session. I can understand that, but you can't. So that's my main vent. It's it's crazy because see it in moving forward. I know they'll probably open it up next year, but what they need to do, like a lot of these schools do, is they need to sell food because it's hot out there and let the GAs benefit. USF had 835 kids that they made $37,000 in a morning. That's it.
Wow.
From 8:30 until 11:30. They had 800 campers at $40 a piece or so, and they made like $37,000. And that's what Miami needs to do. You got to be enterprising. All these people lost money, in this last 16 months, and they continue to lose money. So that's my vent on that.
Could it be because and not necessarily Manny's decision, but maybe the higher
No, it's not Manny.
Blake.
Yeah. No, it's Blake James, maybe even higher up. But I think it's Blake James' decision because I just think that they were unaware. They should have asked somebody who goes around. They're just like in their own little world. They haven't been to anything, so they should ask. Not just me, but there's other people. Andrew Ivins and them. They're always at everything that I go to, and Gabby and those guys like that. So they should ask them and say, hey, are other places letting parents in or fans, and what's the policy? I mean, I think that FAU in their camp situation did it pretty good because they had and they're moving forward. I think they're going to continue it where they only had 100 kids because, whether it be at the UCF thing or that Florida State one that had 1,100 people, how do you see anybody? I mean, I know they had all those satellite schools, which I think is a good idea for that. Miami had, the days that I was there, they had Banda from Utah State, and they had Kevin Beard from Toledo. So, I mean, I can understand, but how can you have so many kids? I just think that. Miami could just, limit it on the camp. 7-on-7 doesn't really matter because you just watch a game and you see everybody. But on a camp situation, you're having to hunt around for all the kids, and they don't give you a list. So all you're seeing is 842 numbers running around. So, and that's the one thing. And, I know we'll get more into a Paradise camp, but I can tell you this from my experiences at all the camps with Miami. They've done it well. They did it well. I mean, everything was, on time, precise. You have, and I've said this before, and I'll say it now. I think Miami, because they have one of the best coaching staffs they've had at least 20 years. I mean, this is an awesome coaching staff because they're all proven winners. I mean, they're all proven winners, and these are people that know how to do things the right way. So if things go, skewed a little bit, T-Rob will open, hey, that's not how we did it, when we're winning. And, the same thing's going to happen with Likens and then definitely, with other guys that have had success on this staff. So you could see that Manny's letting, that's the one thing I will tell you. I mean, I don't criticize Manny at all. I know the fans do a lot. The only thing I could say is he's been a man of his word. After that first year, he knew that they needed offensive help, and they went out and got it with running back coach, a coordinator, a offensive line. And then last year, he knew they had to get defense. And, his relationship with Blake Baker was kind of, I'm sure they were sitting at Denny's one night and said, hey, listen, you're my buddy, but,
you got to go.
Yeah, well, that's something that Al Golden never had with D'Onofrio. So.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it's funny you mentioned that because just watching some shows that I was watching yesterday with some of the guys that we know, Brad Tejeda, Kane's Inside, and some of the guys that coach bootleggers up in Louisiana were talking about Jimmy Smith, talking about his relationship with the Golden era coaching staff was not very good because they were not very responsive to outside. They just weren't a good staff to work with. No. And it goes to show, I mean, listen, obviously they met their I don't want to say they met their maker, but they met their fate, right? Eventually. Well. And they just weren't a good fit down here. So I get it, and now that you have the right coaching staff down here, it's exciting to see what they're doing. You mentioned it already, Paradise Camp, right? That's what this that's what this is all about. Let me run off these names for you so you guys can get an idea as to what we're looking at here. The 2022 class, and by the way, thank you to Max for this list. Sean Wilson, Telek Lockett, Trent McGoffey. I can't even pronounce that guy's name. Tapuvai Amaama. Sean Washington, Myron Green, a JUCO kid, Darius Thomas, Leon Hart. Then you've got some 2023 kids, Malachi Singleton, Jaden Wayne, Jalen Brown, Nathaniel Joseph, Hakeem Williams, Javen Simpkins. I know that you've seen a lot of these guys, Blue and Daquan White, Daniel Harris. Here's some of the Bobby Washington, right? Isn't that Bobby Washington's kid?
Yes.
That's pretty.
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. So,
but you mentioned the emphasis here, and you can see it. I think the barbecue, all these little invites and such, were for the 22 class. Sure. This is more for the 23. Let's get these 23 because, you mentioned the 22 kids and they're pretty good, but they're not, there's nobody in there that really say, we got to get that guy, but the 23 class, which I wrote something today, yesterday, it was kind of tongue in cheek to a lot of these schools nationally skip Florida's 2022 wide receiver class and go after the 2023 class because you just mentioned. Because if you put Brandon Innes and Brown and Fowles and guys like that, and then Nathaniel Joseph, and we can go on. I think there's I mentioned 22 kids that are Power 5. Wow. Power 5. I mean, they're
That's
getting
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
great, and just in 2 counties. So
Lamar
and
Seymour, who's a Miami commit, a
he's another one.
2023
He's
kid,
another.
he's going to be here.
That's Seymour's brother, and
Right. I mean,
yeah,
the list goes on and on, right? So I don't want to mention all of them. I think some of the guys that I'm really excited to see, Blue, and you and I will be out there with Dono as well. He should be coming on here shortly. I want to kind of hone in on the linebacker position,
okay,
Blue, and I want to talk to Paul and Danny and you about this because you know the linebacker position is a position that we've been struggling to recruit. I think getting the right guys here, the guys that fit this program. Not only that, but just the top-notch guys, right? The 4 and 5 star studs. I don't care where they're from. You see some guys like Corey Flagg who are starting to step up and develop and become really good players. But after that class with the big three with Quarterman, Pickney, and McLeod will sit here. He's not a linebacker anymore. He's now moved over to as a rusher, an edge rusher. So after that class, it's kind of been more miss than hit, right? Hit or miss, but it's been more miss than hit. Sam Brooks really hasn't kind of popped off like we've wanted him to. Avery Huff has been slow to develop. I know he's been nagged with some injuries as well, but the development of the linebacker, first of all, it's the development of the linebacker, but just second of all, it's the lack of recruiting the upper echelon of the players there. I'll start off with you, Larry. I'll kind of go around the horn with Paul and Danny on this as well. What can you expect? Paradise Camp with maybe Demario Tolan, Devin Jackson, Wesley Basaint coming in as well. Those guys, but some other guys. Justin Medlock is another kid that I know we're looking at as well. What can you expect from that position, not only at Paradise Camp, but from a recruiting perspective, period, on all of this? What's up, Donald? How you doing? I'm going to get to you now on this also.
Well, the one thing is you're right. I mean, it's so vital that they strike gold here with this linebacking core because right now, and Alex and I talked about this earlier in the week, Miami's front seven is not that strong. You have guys coming on up front with a lot of promise, and then you have your linebacking core that really no real true playmakers, no guys that other than one guy that you mentioned, and he's undersized. I stood next to him at one of the camps. He's not that big. So, they have to strike gold. Wesley Basaint is almost. I mean, he's got to have a uniform. He's got to be wearing that number 17 next year. He's got to be. He's a huge target. Tolan as well. You got to make these guys. You got to hit with these kids because if you don't, you're going to be in real trouble because. You can't rely on your pass rush that you lost 3 guys potentially into the NFL draft. Rousseau obviously was a beast. And then you lost a guy that you just got, 2 of them, Phillips and also Quincy Roche. So there's 3 guys who are impact players in Miami's scheme, and they really haven't had somebody identified as a replacement. We could call out all the names you want, but no one's done what these guys have done. Pair that with a linebacking core, as you just said. You lost 1 to being a defensive end, and then the other 2 are good, but how deep can Miami get? Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in Brooks because of the fact that I thought he would be the guy. I mean, he gained the weight, he got bigger. I just think that maybe right now in the scheme, maybe he needs a stronger linebacker with him in there because that's how Blades. I don't know if you remember when Blades, who HB Blades, who went to Pitt. If you remember, he was a guy in high school that needed that help from the outside because he was a great tackler. He didn't have the speed to pursue from sideline to sideline. Now Brooks needs another guy. You can't do this by yourself, and that's one of the things. But I think they need to strike gold. Like I said, whoever they bring in, but they got to start bringing in some class guys, some really, really good linebackers that are going to hit. And once they do, then you go back to that linebacker U mentality.
Absolutely. You brought up a good point. But Donald joining us finally on the Six Rings Cane Show, baby. What's going on, Donald? How you doing, my man?
Every time I see Jazz on the stream, I get so jealous of your wall, dude. Like I want my entire interior of my home, maybe even the exterior of my home as well, just to be hurricaned out, man. I love it. It's great to see Danny and Paul, and of course Blue. When Blue and I do the Five Rings Cane Show, we're usually just like talking to each other. It's nice to see Blue's beautiful face
Yeah,
again.
yeah, sure.
And listen, man, I can co-sign on everything that Blue said. I caught most of it there, about trying to build, more depth and consistency at linebacker and replacing. You talk about big shoes to fill at edge rusher. Listen, I'm thrilled that Miami has become an edge rushing NFL factory, but every time you lose players of the quality that you just lost, a couple guys in the first round, 3 defensive ends drafted, that really puts the onus on the staff to try and fill those holes. So I'm just happy that we can all be talking about having a Paradise Camp again. I mean, the world was turned upside down last year. Spring was limited, no Paradise Camp last year. I have those images of Mark Rick jumping off the diving board. I don't know if Manny Diaz is planning on doing that this weekend, but I'm sure that everyone's going to have a good time. I see Michael Irvin's coming. I know that the UM alums always show up strong for that. That's why I'm hoping to get out there on Saturday, because if I can hobnob with famous people like Michael Irvin and Larry Bluestein, that's going to make my weekend.
I mean, just Larry Bluestein alone, you've got yourself a hell of a
Me or Michael Irvin, take your pick.
Go Blue.
I'm going to go Blue too. Calais Campbell's going to be out there as well. So that's kind of nice, and I'm sure we're going to get more news on some of the other guys. But listen, Jalen Phillips is down here already. Why not get him back over there and hang out with the defensive ends for a little bit? Paul, look, Dono and Blue mentioned it already, building depth at linebacker, but not only building depth, but I think you need to, I know the striker position. Here's the thing, right? I think the word is that a lot of times people think that or are saying that the striker position has maybe taken away from how they recruit linebackers, because they're looking for that more athletic guy that can play that striker position. That's maybe a tweener safety linebacker style. Listen, for me, it's all about getting the biggest and the baddest man at linebacker. I don't care about the striker position. You got guys like that they're recruiting, like your Jordan Allens that can play linebacker. That can play cornerback, safety, or the striker position. Right? He's that versatile. Some other guys that they're recruiting there. Let's concentrate and let's focus on that linebacker position. Let's concentrate on the Saints and Demario Tolan and Devin Jackson and Justin Medlock. Those guys that can play the linebacker position, run sideline to sideline, but also tackle and shed blocks in the middle, things like that, right? So, Paul, let's talking about that, right? We've got some big guys coming in, some big names coming in this weekend for Paradise Camp. What can you expect from this linebacker position? Do you expect maybe a kid like Wesley Basaint to, if he has a good camp, does he commit?
I mean, I think if you kind of think about the last 2 recruitments that might have been involved, I mean, granted, they are out-of-state kids, so it's a little bit different with them. I definitely can see it, especially because I feel like Miami's recruiting has been very consistent. I've always felt comfortable that, the coaches on the staff are not really one to, like, be annoying or be in your ear all the time. They're just going to they're going to be cool with you. They're going to be calm with you, and they're going to respect your space. But they're very. I guess they're not crazy. I guess like they still show that they care about the recruit. And I think with Wesley too. I think Wesley's been known to be a guy that Miami has to get. For the last couple of years. Now the time's come around, and especially with Miami deciding not to recruit. Omar Graham, or sure is it Omar Graham?
Omar Graham.
FSU.
Stranahan.
So I'm kind of. There's a lot of questions surrounding that too, with whether I don't know if Miami stopped recruiting him or they just saw the tape and they were like, this is not the guy. But you guys have said it. Like they need to Wesley Basaint, Devon Jackson, and Demario Tolan. I think those 2 guys are very likely to be in this class, and I think they need to lock them down ASAP. And with Basaint especially too, with a kid that's local, you got to build that fence. You got to make sure that elite talent like him doesn't leave. And especially considering you guys have talked about the quality of linebackers recruited in the past couple of years. We've seen how good Brooks can be. I think his freshman year is when we thought, okay, all this kid needs to do is gain weight, and he's going to take off next year. And then we kind of didn't see it. And I think he still has it in him. I think he still has that dog in him, but I think he was dealing with injuries the past couple of years, so I think he'll definitely try to get it together. And I guess there is more to be desired when it comes to stars as well. I mean, I think the past two classes, looking back, I think we've only taken 3-star linebackers, and I'm not saying that it's testament to their future success, but it's no secret that the more blue chippers you recruit, the more likely you're going to compete. Especially when you look at the big dogs in the college football playoff. I mean, they consistently get blue chip guys. So it's important now that Miami locks down not only the Saints but Tolan and Jackson, and not put themselves in a bind, because I still think maybe it might be another couple of years before they actually we're comfortable with the kind of depth that we'll have at linebacker going forward.
Well, look, you mentioned the depth, right? You mentioned the big three that we keep mentioning is the same Tolan and Jackson. And Brad mentioned something in the chat, and something I was going to get to as well regarding Demario Tolan. Looks like we're battling it out with Mr. Blake Baker over there at LSU, who seems to be doing a good job of recruiting Tolan. Listen, all right, I see Donald laughing already about this one, because if we lose a big time linebacker recruit to Blake Baker over there at LSU, man, we are going to get ragged on. And even if Baker wasn't the biggest reason why he commits LSU, I mean, listen, LSU is a great program for linebackers as well. So even if that's the case, we're still going to get ragged on for losing out on a recruit, on a big time recruit like that to Blake Baker, aren't we? I mean, that's just it's going to be sad. It's going to be kind of pathetic that we lose out to him. So hopefully Tolan likes his visit down here to Miami better than he did over there in Baton Rouge, right? I mean, that's going to be huge. Look, Danny, we talked a lot about the linebackers. Blue mentioned the edge guys. Donald mentioned the edge guys. I think that that's a position that maybe a lot of people may not really be paying attention to. But listen, we lost 3 key guys there, 3 of the best defensive ends that have come around here in a long time. And right now, the replacements are a transfer guy in DeAndre Johnson, who has some upside, who can play some really good football. And then you've got Jafari Harvey, who, hasn't kind of lived up to maybe some of the hype that he's gotten. He's not a bad player, and he hasn't gotten a lot of time because of the guys in front of him. But now we need to see him kind of step up. And then the guys behind him, Chance Williams and Zach McLeod and Cam Williams, and some of those guys need to obviously step up. However, defensive end position, right? Talk to me a little bit about what you want to see from the defensive end position, the rusher position here, this year's recruiting class. A guy like Shamar Smith, who apparently is going to be back on campus, or is already back on campus, is going to be here for a while. So, talk to me about what we need to do to get guys like that and how we need to keep them here as well.
Well, when you mention the edge position, what I want to see from the edge position, just speaking generally, is a player who has a lot of speed, a player who can get off his blocks quick, and a player who has a lot of versatility. And I think we saw that last year. Obviously, we just mentioned some huge names that Miami lost to the draft. And what I really think needs to happen, you talk about solidifying the linebacker position. I would suggest solidifying the whole defense from the edge to the linebackers, because I truly think in this defense, especially the way we saw it last year, the edge and the linebackers both tended to play off each other at times. And, moving forward, you talk about, depth and trying to get guys here. These camps I've been following all across college football. These camps are going to be huge because they kind of give coaches a chance to see players one-on-one, except in the case of UCF where there's 800 kids. And, these next couple of days for Miami are absolutely huge, because if we can land the linebackers that we just talked about and try to focus on bringing in some edge rushers, that can help us build that continuous depth. So it's not the problem that we're having right now where we're kind of stuck at the linebacker position and we're kind of in a bind where we need to sign these guys. We need to be in a position where getting these guys would be great, and not we have to get these guys or else we're screwed.
Well, I mean, look, you brought up a good point. However, my thought process is, Manny has kind of come out and said that, he's going to go forward with the defensive end he's got now, not try to go back into the transfer portal again. Although there's still some guys out there.
Right.
At the linebacker position and at the defensive end position that Miami could look at later on down the line. So I wouldn't hold out on Manny not making a decision there. Dono, I kind of want to come back around and kind of go in a different direction here on focus on Paradise Camp again. So many kids are coming out to this event. It's the biggest recruiting weekend of the year for the Miami Hurricanes. You're going to have all these ex-players. You're going to have Larry Bluestein there. You're going to have
Maybe.
you're going to have all these guys out there that it's going to bring a lot of attention and it's going to bring a lot of hype, and the player and kids love this stuff, right? They eat it up. But at the end of the day, Miami has to produce on the field.
Yeah. Certain
positions that I think that can't go on, I guess you can't go light on recruiting there, is the cornerback position as well. And I know we've done a hell of a job at safety, and even at striker to a certain extent with, guys like Chase Smith could probably play the striker position later on also. But the cornerback position has been another one that's been a little, hit or miss as well. No more of the days of Mike Jackson and Corn Elder and some of these other kids that played really well here. We've got a big one in Kamari Rogers. We've got that, that he just committed recently, which was huge. But Miami's always a great football team when they've got great guys outside covering and locking down whoever it is that's opposite in front of them. And I just say that because that's what I want to focus on at Paradise Camp. What is something that you're going to be kind of looking for this weekend, as when you go out there and kind of take a look at what's going on and all the players that are going to be out there? What's something that you want to kind of look at and focus on and say, this is what I really want to see at Paradise Camp?
Yeah, I mean, from more of a technical aspect, I'll pick up what you said about cornerback. It's so essential, and I'm hoping that the Kamari Rogers commit can be kind of the start of an avalanche, because obviously cornerback was really an embarrassing lack in the class of 2021, and from 2022 moving forward, they really have to step up the amount of quality and quality depth that they bring in there. So that's going to be key. I mean, this is going to tie into what I say about Paradise Camp. This has just been, it's been a really tough year for recruiting. I mean, Larry and I talked so much on Five Rings Canes about the extended dead period that we had. And this was really unlike any other year. And, as of our last episode, you were talking about having just 4 commits in the class of 2022. And I think it's all the floodgates, I think, are going to open after Paradise Camp. And what to me makes Paradise Camp so important, we've talked about the alumni, right? We've talked about the hands-on approach that these players are going to get with Pro Football Hall of Famers. And even though I know people will like to say, hey, 16, 17-year-old kids, they didn't necessarily watch a guy like Michael Irvin play. They barely know who Calais Campbell is and all. I think they care. I mean, I think the real students of the game, these kids know. And if they don't know, their parents have told them, and they're geeking out to some of the attendees who are going to be out there. I just think Paradise Camp, to me, it's one of the most important things that Mark Richt created. I think this is a big part of his legacy. I mean, when I think about Mark Richt, I know that there was disappointing results on the field aside from the one, 10-win season. But you think about the indoor practice facility, you think about the creation of Paradise Camp. I really think he did a nice job kind of laying the foundations to leave Miami football at least a little bit better than it was when he took over. And I think in the case of Paradise Camp, I mean, I even see some of the comments we have flowing in on the chat, making jokes about how, Manny's got to leave a bag at somebody's doorstep. I mean, the sad thing is a lot of these schools you're competing with to get commits are literally doing that. Okay. And you're dealing with these mega powerhouse programs, a lot of them in the SEC, a couple of them in the ACC, because Clemson has become, a world power, a national power. Florida State has dipped, but at some point they're going to be back because they've got way too many resources not to be back. So when you're competing against these large public institutions with alumni bases that are so many times larger than yours, so much money compared to what Miami has to work with, you need to try and sell the uniqueness not only of your area, but even the uniqueness of your campus. I mean, I've set foot on a lot of college football, or a lot of college campuses, I should say, around the country, and you don't see a whole lot of palm trees. You don't see a whole lot of lakes. You don't see a whole lot of these pools where you have like 9s and 10s and bikinis laying out. We have uniqueness on the Miami campus that, and of course the area, from Coral Gables to South Beach and all points in between. You have to accentuate, the things about your campus and your city that make it unique. Because when you're talking about a college town and a student body, the size of it, you can't really compete with the LSUs and the Clemsons and the Bamas and even the Florida States of the world. Like, you have to try and really sell the area and sell the program. And it's not to say Miami can't get good players based on football merits, because you can and you should. You've had some amazing players and some amazing programs. You've got 5 national titles, probably should have had more than that. So you can certainly sell that proudly, but you're also talking about selling things that are unique to Miami and to Coral Gables and the University of Miami that these players are not going to see on too many other campuses. And that's where I think Paradise Camp does a really good job. I mean, even having the word paradise from a marketing standpoint, I think about watching, Don Draper on Mad Men. That's the sort of thing that dude would have created. I think it's really important. And I'm not sure how big like the RSVP is for players now. I know that as of a couple days ago, it was over 30 expected. I'm sure it's probably even grown since then. So I think this is really, really important, given the long dead period that you came out of, when the month of June started. You got a lot of catching up to do to show these players what makes Miami special.
Look, and Coach Likens said it best. He was on with Brad and Chris on their show last week, and he said it best. I don't care how old you are. There's teams that are doing it now that are great. They're and they're a popular team right now. But the U is a brand that will never be forgotten. It'll never go anywhere. It still holds weight even for 16, 17-year-old kids now, because we're everywhere. Then the truth is, you're on ESPN all the time, right? Whether they're talking good or talking bad, or you're watching the documentaries, or you got a kid that puts the U hat on their table and doesn't choose it. It doesn't matter. The logo and the brand is still there, so it still holds weight. So. I don't buy when certain people say that Miami is the logo and the brand. It's not I get it. It's not what it was before, but the brand still holds weight. So like you said, Donald, this team has to keep selling the brand, but also sell the uniqueness of playing in a place like this. Going back to that, right, and selling this. Blue, what's how many? Well, I guess we could say how many commits, because Bye Bosworth said this. We need five commits this weekend at Paradise Camp. I think that's unique. How many commits? I think that's interesting, not unique. How many commits does Miami need to get this weekend at Paradise Camp for it to be successful? Or better said, what are players that you're looking at that you're kind of keying in on, an eye on, that might show up to the camp?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not really interested in how many kids come out of this camp and commit, because of the fact that I just want them to make sure when you see them and you see them the way they are and they're interacting with the fellow player, the future players, the coaches and stuff, that they're enjoying themselves. Because obviously a lot of these kids don't want to be rushed. And you don't want to make a decision based on just one night, So I think that over the next week, though, when these guys have an opportunity, because we have, what is it, the 20, we're coming close to the 30th, which is when?
Tuesday? Next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the last day that these kids can go and, go to the visits and have college coaches actually on campus. So I think you're going to see kids come back. Within, from Saturday, maybe Monday or Tuesday, just slept on it and they had that in their mind, and they say, I just wanted to walk around campus. I just wanted to, talk to Coach Likens one more time and talk to him, and then you commit, because now with the portal, with the seniors the players being able to come back another year, granted by the NCAA. Your spots are limited. So you want to make that decision that's going to hold. You don't want to just all of a sudden on a Saturday night go, oh, I loved it. Just like you went out with a great. Speaking about 9 and 10s, Miami's forever had 9 and 10s near that pool. Believe me. I mean, maybe 12s and 13s.
Yeah,
but
it's more like
I feel like they're props. Like sometimes I feel like they just make sure, like they have like the 9s and 10s. Like, hey, make sure you're hanging out there all hours of the day.
While you're taking biology down there, get some good sunshine. So.
On this day and this time, make sure that you're hanging out at so and so location.
Oh yeah. No, but I'm just saying that's what I believe.
Blue,
I want something. I want Wesley Bassink commit. I want him to commit by Sunday night. And
I think he pulls the trigger this weekend.
Yeah,
Blue, it happens. Guys fall in love that same night they'll be like, Coach, I'm in. Let's do it.
I know, but you see, then all of a sudden they go to FSU on Wednesday and they're feeling the same way. So it's just that if you could remember, and maybe Alex does, when they recruited John Beeson.
Oh yeah,
John Beeson and his mom were the only 2 people on the last visit. Only 2 people, because he was really going to Georgia because they had promised he could play running back and all these foolish things. And all of a sudden, all it took was he and mom to be on campus. And, they went, just them 2. It was great. I mean, everybody showed him multiple love from everywhere direction. So I think that's when, what happens, especially to local kids, I think what happens is they probably call up or text one of the coaches and say, hey, you mind if my mom and dad and I come down on, Tuesday? Yeah, go ahead. It could be your official visit, because these things are just camps. They can't be official visits because they're not doing anything, but they're not going anywhere else on campus. But this could be taking mom and dad through all the science building, meeting the Dono family who will be your educators, things like that. I mean, and I tell the story all the time about the kid Smith who went to FSU, the kid out of Pahokee, the running back. I mean, this guy, the first thing he did on his trip to FSU, he broke away from the athletic thing and went on his own and was asking regular students how they like life here, going up to black kids, who were taking classes. Are you guys felt, you feel comfortable here? That's what he did. He was telling me, I freaked out, like when everybody else was. So I think that, and like Alex said, I mean, this program, because you come from the north, if you come from New York or even Chicago, you're thinking, oh, Miami, oh my gosh, it's like 1 million people at that campus, when it's really not. It's a city within its city. And if you don't want to, you could just get your little moped or your little bike or whatever it is and just use Gables and South Miami as your hangout spots, and you don't go 5 miles. So that's what I'm saying. And you're still in a great, that campus is beautiful. The education is worth billions. I mean, look at all the great, and that's what you do. And as a parent, that's what I do. I would take, my son or daughter and say, hey, listen, look who's graduated from here. Look who's in this music business or this business. And Miami, as you know, between lawyers and doctors and people in the medical profession are overflowing. So that, to me, your contacts are everything, because you screw your leg up and you're out of football. You can get your degree, but that's not going to be any guaranteed. You just got to make contacts. You got to use those 4 years as like you're selling yourself. You're a contact. You're going to pick up more and more people like that. Look at Braxton Berrios. He did it to the hilt. When he leaves football, that young man will have somewhere to go in the business world, because he has a degree from the University of Miami and he has experience.
We don't need, I mean, do we need anybody else at Paradise Camp but Larry Bluestein to sell the show?
Yeah, you do.
I mean, my goodness.
Tell Michael Irvin to stay home.
Yeah, forget about him. So we got about a minute or two here before we wrap up. I want to get everybody's take one last time real quick around the horn on, maybe give me one name that you can see possibly committing, or even a surprise visit. Paul, we'll go with you first.
I'm definitely on the Bassink train for sure, but I mean, for a certain 5-star recruit making his 4th visit to Coral Gables this month,
yeah,
Mr. Stewart.
That's what. Yeah, that's who I'm going with. I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart. I think Shamar Stewart shocks the world and commits this weekend. I mean, this is the 4th time that he's down here, and he's coming down again. So I'm super excited about him. Danny, give me one name that you want to see commit, or maybe a surprise visit. real
You
quick.
guys saw my thunder. I was looking at Stewart today, and I was like, "Wow, he's already taken."
Yeah, you can take
pretty
Shamar
good.
Stewart too. You know, this is a numbers
Yeah.
game here, baby. We need all the numbers we can get to get it. We'll sign a petition if we have to. Dono, who do you want to see maybe come out with an offer and maybe commit as well?
No, I'll make it a clean sweep, Shamar Stewart. And you know what? We need to tag him in this episode, because if he watches this, he's going to be feeling the love. Like, he's going to be wanting to hold hands with all of us, sing Kumbaya, and say, God, you know what? Miami, I am wanted at Miami. So Shamar Stewart, come on down.
Let's do it. Blue, what do you got for me?
Well, I'll tell you, the Shamar Stewart makes sense because of your history with DVD from Pace, and also Rod Mack from Pace. And, you know, they've done well with the Pace kids, Joel Rodriguez, you know, through the years. So, you know, I like that. But I also like a guy who's going to be a cornerstone at that linebacker position. And I think that Wesley Bassett, as I said before, I think he walks away with the feeling that, you know, I stay home, got a lot of friends. Got to remember that while Roland Smith never pushes it, he gets a kid here. He's got Big Baby that came in this class. You never know if his brother might not down the road, you know, intrigue Miami enough where they press harder for him. I do think, though, that Miami could get maybe a surprise out of the receiver for 2023, the kid Brown from Gulliver, because he's gone to Notre Dame this week. He went to Michigan. He went to Florida. And if all of a sudden he comes and feels a lot of love on Saturday night, I think Miami could really pull in a position for him. And remember, he comes in here as a world-class runner. So he is a track kid. He's a football kid. He gets it done in the classroom, comes out of a great program. So I think that that he may be a really surprise all of a sudden come out on early next week and say, hey, you know, Miami is my leader. And if he does that, I love it.
Nice. Good stuff there. I'm going to give you a surprise pick. Colin Hurley gets an offer this weekend, and he commits to Miami. Colin Hurley, amazing quarterback. His kid's an 8th grader. It's unbelievable.
I was going to say he's 12 years old, though. Come on, man. I may never see the kid play.
Blue, he's unbelievable. Look at this.
Play against Auburn in 2020.
He definitely will.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Dono, Blue, you guys were awesome as usual. Paul and Danny.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Paul, Danny. We'll see you soon, man. Thanks. I miss you, Paul. Man, come back to the games.
Subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you like it and follow us at Six Rings Canes. Paul is not coming back for a while. He lives in Oregon, for crying out loud. Jesus Christ!
Where are you
Get
at?
back over here, Oregon.